React show. And on this show, we talk all things movies and entertainment. Today, we actually have a wide variety of things to talk about. I know the last show was just a review, but this time we're going to do news. So we have a lot of things to talk about. We have to talk about Fantastic Four's second weekend and the fact that its box office is going viral on Twitter. I find that to be really interesting. So we're gonna talk about that whole situation. We're gonna talk about the new Spider-Man suit, which I'm really excited about. I think the suit looks amazing. We have a lot of trailers actually to review and react to. There's a new Conjuring trailer. There's the Avatar trailer. There's a Zootopia 2 trailer. So like I said, we actually have a lot to go over today. So before we get into it though, I do want to say hi, of course. Hi Will, hi Cupcake, hi Kassarim, hi Rodney. Hi Astronomy, hi Naomi, hi Mythic, hi Cream Cheese, hi Jay Headley. Thank you to each and every one of you who is here, especially to my Purple Crown members. I love you guys a lot. Hi Aisha the God. Oh, the God. All right. But anyway, let's just get straight into the box office news. So I decided to focus on the main thing that everyone's talking about right now when it comes to movie news, and that's, are superhero movies dead? That's kind of the big question everyone's been asking. Everyone's been wondering. I mean, I've been talking about for a while now that people thought that both Superman and Fantastic Four would be like a barometer for how healthy the superhero genre is. And that I think now that both movies have been released and been in theaters for at least 2 weeks or over a week, I think we're starting to see what the answer is. And I think the answer is probably not what DC and Marvel had hoped for. So before I even get into that conversation, let me just tell you straight up what the news is first. So Fantastic Four had a pretty big second weekend drop. If you guys aren't familiar, second weekend drops are very important because they usually tell you how the movie's gonna leg out week to week. Is it gonna hold well? Is the word of mouth good? It tells you a lot. Honestly, in some ways, the second weekend is almost more important than the first weekend. And so people were hoping that Fantastic Four would maybe drop like Superman, which domestically, Superman's actually holding pretty well. However, that has not been the case for Fantastic Four. So in the first Friday, so from Friday to Friday, there was an 80% drop. 80%, that's pretty hefty. Considering that the opening wasn't amazing to begin with. It was better than all the other Marvel movies this year, that's true. However, it's still not Marvel peak how much they used to get opening weekend. So the fact that it's dropping huge and it was kind of a meh opening weekend is not a really good sign for Marvel and the health of the brand. Overall, the whole weekend dropped 66%. It only earned $40 million in the second weekend, which is really not good. 66%. Now, okay, to be fair, a drop in the 50s and 60s, usually in Marvel's golden days would not be terrible just because usually they would open much higher and with really high openings usually come with bigger drops. However, like I said, this opening was just kind of okay. So the fact that it's having a 66% drop when Superman had 52 or something like that is really not good. It's showing that more people are willing to rewatch Superman more than they are Fantastic Four. It's showing that I think word of mouth is generally more positive for Superman than Fantastic Four. And I do think it's also showing, as I mentioned on Twitter, that I think that right now, the core Marvel fan base, the ones that have seen all the movies, that are still watching the TV shows, God bless you, that audience, that core, I'll even say millennial audience, is not going anywhere. So they'll still show up for a Fantastic Four just because they're told it's a big deal. And so it'll do it well enough to get, over 100 million opening weekend. But the fact that this is having such a big second weekend drop shows that the non hardcore comic book audience is not showing up for these films. They're getting just the core Fantastic Four, but not just Fantastic Four. They're getting the core Marvel audience, but they are not getting the normies to go. And again, I know I use my friends a lot, but they're like a barometer for me because they do not pay attention to pop culture at all. Um, and they pretty much see movies when like I tell them, hey, we should go see this. So like, or at least one of them used to be into Marvel, and like I convinced her enough to see Captain America, but like I couldn't convince her to see the other two. So like, just based on like the normies that I know, they're completely over superhero movies. I know this is anecdotal evidence, but I think we're seeing it play out in the box office, which is why I'm bringing it up. They are so over superheroes. They're superhero fatigued. They, I was, I mean, it's getting this bad that, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday I asked them, like, would you guys even want to see Doomsday? Like, I was like, okay, I know you guys didn't want to see Fantastic Four or Thunderbolts, but, like, are you still excited for Doomsday? And they were like, like, they were still not like, oh, yeah, I gotta go see it. They were like, I mentioned Robert Downey Jr. returning, and that was, like, the only thing that even sparked a tiny bit of interest from them. So I think Marvel is just, like, in a really bad spot. I think that this was like the reason why Fantastic Four really, really needed to do well and much better than this is because this is the last like Marvel proper film. I know there's a Spider-Man film, but that's like Sony, so I don't totally count it. This is the last Marvel proper film before the next Avengers movie. And it's not going to do well. In fact, it's going to do less than Superman. Superman is actually on track to be the highest grossing comic book movie of the year. And we were just talking about how the fact that Superman's box office isn't even like amazing. Like it's actually doing pretty well domestically. I would say like its domestic numbers are actually not bad, but internationally it's tanking. And that's the same unfortunate story for Fantastic Four, where like Fantastic Four was doing even worse abroad than Superman was doing, and Superman was not doing great abroad. But had Superman had the same reception abroad that it did here in the States, or at least like did comparable numbers, Superman would actually be doing like really, really well. Like probably about as well as the Batman. But it's because like the overseas numbers are not doing well is why these numbers overall are not looking good. So like Superman is probably going to end up somewhere in like the high 500s, whereas Fantastic Four, it's very possible, hold on, I'll get to that. It's very possible that Fantastic Four might not even get to like 550. It's possible if it keeps dropping this badly, not only will it end up making less than Superman, but actually by quite a bit. Like it won't even be close. And I know a lot of people have been having these two movies in competition with each other, seeing who would do better. I always thought that Superman would do better than Fantastic Four, just because based on the trailers, to me, Superman looks like a more appealing film than the way that the trailers made the Fantastic Four look. So I'm not surprised Superman is making more, but I am surprised that it's going to make like significantly more. That I do think is surprising, and I do think that should be like a feather in James Gunn's cap. Because he really knows how to speak to the comic book audience. Like, regardless of how you feel about him or his movies, like, comic book fans usually like what he puts out. I was only, like, mediocre on Superman, but even I like Superman more than I liked Fantastic Four. If you go back to my reviews, I tell you why I felt that way. So I think this is really bad for the superhero genre overall. I think that this shows that, like, getting to $1 billion for a superhero movie is, like, not going to be easy anymore. Honestly, I think the only superhero movies I can even fathom reaching $1 billion right now would be like either a Spider-Man movie, which we're gonna talk about later, or the second thing would be the Avengers movie. Like I can't imagine any other superhero property or story making even like close to $1 billion. And honestly, because of how sort of so-so to poor these movies are performing, I don't know what DC's doing making a Clayface movie or a Supergirl movie, even though I really like the Supergirl that we saw in the movie for however brief she was in there. I do not see her movie being like bigger than Superman, and if Superman only did okay, does that mean that like Supergirl is bound to flop? Like, it kind of seems that way. And, like, who the heck wants a Clayface movie? That's a movie that only appeals to the hardcore nerds who, like, actually read this stuff and know who Clayface is. Like, normies do not know who Clayface, and if you told them who and what that is, they'd be like, that's stupid. So, I don't understand what James Gunn's doing with that. Knowing that's what's on the horizon for DC doesn't give me confidence. Knowing that, like, really the only draw for Doomsday is Robert Downey Jr. does not give me confidence. The only thing that I'm, like, fairly sure about is Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man is, like, the one superhero that has found his way, like, outside of the genre. Like, Spider-Man, the character, just seems bigger than the superhero genre, so I think Spider-Man will be okay. But, like, everything else, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. So this is bad. We were looking to see how well these movies would do to judge how well, like, do superhero movies even have a future? And I think the answer to that kind of has to be maybe, but the budgets are definitely going to have to go down. Like, no more $200 to $300 million movies, even though I think I just saw a rumor recently that was like Doomsday is going to be like $600 to $700 million. That doesn't surprise me. Doomsday, oh my god, Doomsday really concerns me. Like, I know I'm getting into a bit of a ramble here, but, like, just for a hot second, I need to, like, vent on what's going on with Doomsday in case you guys aren't aware of what's happening. So, Doomsday is currently filming, right? Here's the issue. They're still writing the story, and apparently they don't even know how it's going to end. And they've been filming for several months now, and they just brought on Michael Waldron, who, like, Marvel fans made very clear, like, we were not happy with him. And so it's like, how are you filming for months and you still don't know what you want to do with your story? And worst of all, the newest rumors are, like, they don't even know where to go after Doomsday. Like, Fantastic Four not doing well kind of, like, changes all of their plans. So, first of all, I don't know why they, like, thought that, like, Fantastic Four was going to be this huge thing anyway. I don't think Fantastic Four as a brand has ever been that popular outside of, like, comic book nerds. And then B, like, the fact that they were just so, like, confident that this movie would, like, help them carry over to, like, their new rebooted era is just crazy to me, because I just don't think that this property was ever that strong enough. And to me, that I just think it's proof that, like, I do think Kevin Feige and co are, like, really out of touch. And at this point, after seeing Fantastic Four, I don't even think Kevin's out of touch with just Marvel fans. I think Kevin is out of touch with culture. Because this movie, Fantastic Four, like, even though it does have some really good scenes in it, there are, like, I love the scene where, like, Sue was, like, you know, trying to put Galactus in the portal. I love the birth scene and the chase scene, all of that. Like, the same scenes everyone says they love, I love those too. However, if you watch my review, then you know I had several other problems with the film that just were not enough to, like, make me love it. And I feel like one of the other issues with the film that I didn't mention in my review is that I actually think that this movie is, like, a bit outdated in how it's made. And by outdated, I mean, like, something Marvel is having a problem with right now is that they cannot get younger people interested in their movies. Like, I'm talking, like, young Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Like, they do not care for this franchise or these movies for the most part. So, and I think one of the reasons why, it's not just because, like, this franchise started a long time ago and they were maybe too young or not even born yet when these movies started, but I think it's also the fact that, like, these movies are made to appeal to millennials. And I'm using Fantastic Four specifically as an example because I think this movie is, like, a very millennial movie and, like, its entire conception and how it's made. And I do not see that appealing to, like, a younger audience just because of how it's made. I think Superman is much more, like, for a younger crowd, and I think that's actually showing up in the demographics of people who actually go to these movies. Like, Superman is much more, like, kid-friendly and, like, family friendly, like younger people are gravitating towards that one. And Fantastic Four is actually like garnering more of an older audience. So I think that's what's happening here. I think this movie is made for an older generation, and Marvel's still making movies like this younger generation has the same tastes as the ones that, started off watching these movies, and that's just not true. We're going to talk about Demon Hunters later on in this stream as well. And I think Demon Hunters is actually like a great example of like a movie made for like younger audiences, from even how it's like edited to like the plot and everything. Like that movie, I think, has just more of a youthful energy than what's in this. Like Fantastic Four, just, I don't know how else to put it. It's just like a very, very millennial movie. And I think that's also part of the issue of why they cannot broaden their audience outside of that. But I've been yapping for a long time. What do you guys think? Oh, Nagisa, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Old Gen Z is part of the MCU fan base too. Yes, I'm mentioning old Gen Z. That's why I said younger Gen Z and Gen Alpha. I'm technically part of older Gen Z. Like, technically, I'm like right on the line. So like, depending on where you look on the internet, I'm either like a really young millennial or really old Gen Z. I don't know which one to claim anymore. I'm just gonna go with the phrase zillennial, because apparently that's like more accurate for me. I don't know. But yes, older Gen Z does like Marvel, but I'm talking about more like younger Gen Z and like Gen Alpha, who are like the teenagers. Something about Gen Z I don't think some people realize is that like Gen Z is like almost 30 now, like older Gen Z, like me. So I'm like, when people talk about really young people, I don't even think that they mean like Gen Z anymore, or if they do, they mean like late Gen Z. Because I think we're starting to, like, age out of the Gen Z era and actually go into the Gen Alpha era now. Because, like, Gen Z is getting older. But that's, like, a whole other thing. What else? Caldonia says, was Infinity War a millennial movie? The entire Infinity Saga is very millennial. That's what I'm saying. Which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. I'm just saying that, like... I think that generations are getting older and tastes are changing, and I think Marvel's still making movies like it's 2016, and the culture is vastly different. Like, I think if this movie had come out in like 2016, I think it would have been much better received and like done better. Not just because Marvel was in a better place, just because I think this kind of movie would have done better with that audience. And I just don't think that like this kind of movie... I think this movie is, like, outdated. That's what I mean. Oh, you like Your Idol? I like This Is What It Sounds Like. That's my favorite song from Demon Hunters. Should have cast Timothy Chalamet as Reed Richards and Zendaya as Sue Storm. We do not need to cast the same actors in everything. I actually really adore both of those actors, but I think both of them would have been miscast in this movie. Like, they could have even, if they wanted to go with an older, because, like, when I say millennial, I'm not even talking about the age of the cast members. Like, that's not even, like, what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in the actual, like, structure of the movie, like, technically, it's made to appeal to, like, an older audience. And Gen Xers, you're right. Jay just said Gen Xers also love Marvel. That's true. Sometimes I forget about y'all, I'm sorry. But yes, Gen Xers also love this movie. Prison here says, who asked for another Fantastic Four anyway? Like, who was even like, yes, let's do this again, even if past movies bombed? Yeah, I think this was a bit of Marvel hubris. Like I said, I don't think that Fantastic Four has ever actually been that popular with the general public. I think, and this might be a bit of a spicy take here, but I actually think that, like, the 2000s version, I think it's like 2005, of Fantastic Four, I actually think that is still, even after this movie, the most iconic version of these characters. Because I think it's that version that stood out the most in the mind of the general public. Maybe it might not be comics accurate. I know that was a complaint that people had with the movie that it's not comics accurate. But like for the people who do not read the comics, like it was just a fun movie with more interesting, memorable characters and scenes than that were in either of the two later versions. So, ironically, even though it's a much older movie, I would say like the 2005 version of Fantastic Four is more of a Gen Z movie than this one. I don't know. It's just like the older movie was more campy. It was more like irreverent. I just think I think if this movie went more in that direction, I think it would have done better. That's my theory anyway. I love Zendaya too. Caledonia says Marvel should hire the K-pop Demon Hunter crews to do Secret Wars. I would personally love that, but I don't know if that's a good idea. I do think that Disney should hire them or hire people who worked on that movie to help out with like Pixar and Disney animation. Again, we're going to talk about this later, but I do think that Disney should be taking lessons from K-pop Demon Hunters for sure. Sunset Gerard says, I wonder if people are waiting for movies to be on streaming platforms instead of going to theaters. I do think that's part of it. However, I do not think that is the main thing. And my reason for that is because if people really want to see a movie, they're going to see it in theaters. Like, Lilo and Stitch still made $1 billion, even though everyone knows it's going to go to Disney Plus eventually. You know? So I don't think that the whole streaming excuse is really relevant to every movie. Because if people really want to go see it, they're going to go see it. And I just think that if you're releasing a movie where people feel like they can wait months to go see it, they weren't that excited in the first place. Wait, who can't act? Are you talking about Zendaya? I think she can act. Will says, my siblings wore me out on Demon Hunters. They watched it like twice a day. You know what's funny? I was walking down the street just yesterday and I heard this like teenage girl singing Golden. And I was like, wow, this movie is really blowing up. Rodney says, I'm Gen Z, but after I watched most of the new films, I really go back to watch films from the 2000s and early 2010s. Yeah. I think that for some reasons, particularly, I think it's because like Gen Z really loves Y2K, like the whole aesthetic. I really think that a lot of like those old, like particularly early 2000s movies kind of have that like Gen Z feel in a way, which I think is interesting. Like the James Gunn version of the Scooby-Doo movies are very like Gen Z when you think about it. Jordan G says, Feige needs to step down. I'm sure he's a great guy, but he's been like this since 2021. Should we blame Feige? Okay, maybe I should ask you guys. In fact, I think I'm going to do a poll. I haven't done a poll in a long time. Can I do a poll? No, I can't because I didn't have that ready. No, I can't do a poll. I'm sorry. Next time I'm going to have polls ready. But for how I have my setup, it's just not going to happen. But anyway, I don't think that they're going to get rid of Feige because I think the issue is so bad. I think the brand is so damaged that I think Feige might be the only one that can save it because he's been there the longest and is so like deep in the weeds of like everything that's going on. And he's the one that has all the connections to make things happen. I don't see them getting rid of him. I see what they've already done, which is I think they've definitely given him less power. I think Disney is more in charge of like what Marvel does than they used to. And I think that might continue, especially after this. Like especially if the rumors are true that they're spending like some insane amount, like 600 plus million on Doomsday. I would be shocked if like Bob Iger is not also like heavily involved in the production, because like how can a company want to spend that kind of money on something like that and not care about how it turns out? So I don't think they're gonna like fire Feige, but I do think that they'll probably like micromanage him to death, like they're probably already doing. I think that's what's gonna happen. Eugene says Feige said he's refocused. Yeah, but he said that like every year. Like we'll see. We'll see. Um, Caldonia says it took 10 years to peak and it took 5 years to fall. It actually is quite impressive how quickly, like, Marvel used up all of their goodwill when they had, like, over a decade of amazing goodwill. Um, Honestly, I think I blame the biggest culprits to the decline in Marvel, I would say, like, are Quantumania. Quantumania is bad. Thor Love and Thunder. Like, that movie is really bad. Also, I'm going to add Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Even though that made like almost $1 billion, that disappointed so many fans so much that I do think it was the beginning of the end for them. The Marvels, I'm going to add that. And then recently, Captain America. I think all of those movies contributed to the decline of Marvel. Personally, I think the worst one is still Quantumania, but they've had a lot of clunkers. Anyway, we've been talking about this subject for a long time. We should probably move on. But I just find this all very fascinating. I'm curious to see how they're going to fix things, how Spider-Man is going to do. Is the superhero fatigue going to affect Spider-Man? Maybe, we don't know. But you know what? That's actually a great segue. Oh, wait, no, we have AI news. Before we get to entertainment news, we have AI news. Just one story, but it was so big, I had to share it. So Amazon is investing into, Amazon is creating some sort of like new streaming service that's AI based. It's going to be called Showrunner. And it's basically going to be what I've been telling you guys that they're planning to do for a couple years now, which is basically they're going to just let people like type in a prompt for whatever kind of show or movie that they have in their head. And then the streaming service is just going to generate a custom movie or show for that user. And apparently they're going to other studios like Disney to license their IP. So like imagine if one day, say you want to make your own custom like Disney princess movie. Maybe you could do that by like going to this streaming service, typing in a prompt, and with like Disney IP, you can create your own like Disney princess movie. Or I don't know. I don't know what the limits are going to be. Like, are they going to allow people to make sequels to films they've already made before they can make them themselves? Like, can I make Frozen 3 before they make it themselves? Or can I make Avengers Doomsday before they make it themselves? Like, and also, if we're really getting to the point where you really will be able to just like type in a prompt and get a whole movie, firstly, I really think that like, going back to Doomsday, I really think that they're going to use AI to cut down on costs because everything else is becoming too expensive. And I think that the only reason they're not using AI to do almost everything is because the technology is just not there yet. But it will be in like maybe 2 years. So I actually predict that Secret Wars in particular, maybe not Doomsday yet. I think Doomsday will have like a lot of the visual effects done with AI. But I think Secret Wars will be the one where, like, they actually significantly use a lot of AI because the technology will be good enough at that point that they can. And they're going to have to save money because these movies are stupidly expensive. And I'm not even 100% confident that, like, they're going to get a return on their money on Doomsday. So, this is bad. I have so many mixed feelings about this. On one hand, my more like, I love sci-fi, I think it's cool what tech can do, like, my more like monkey brain side of me is just like, oh, this is so cool, this is like something straight out of Black Mirror. In fact, there's literally a Black Mirror episode about this. But then there's another side of me that's like, is this good for society? Like, we're already talking about how there's no monoculture, right? Like, everyone watches their own things, everyone gets into their own, like, niche topics or whatever. But imagine if, like, not only are people not watching the same thing, but people are getting their own customized versions of movies. So, like, people could all be talking about the same movie, but no one watched the exact same movie. Like, movies are supposed to like build empathy and like show other parts of cultures and societies that maybe you're not experienced with. But imagine if like you can just only ever prompt something that is like uniquely specific to you in your life. So you never see anything from other people's perspectives at all. I think that that could be really bad for society. And that's not even talking about the job loss that this would cause, like massive job loss in Hollywood. So yeah. No, I know this is not a very cheery story. However, I kind of had to tell you this is coming because it is coming, and we can't just put our heads in the sand and pretend that it's not. So I have to report it to you. So yeah, what are your thoughts here? I'm seeing lots of dystopia and lots of hell no's. Rodney says you think it's insulting that it's called showrunner. I mean, you don't want to be your own showrunner? Oh, wait, I forgot. They actually, someone, I don't know how they did this, but they actually got a demo. Hold on. I actually want to see if I can find this. 1 second. Because I want to show you. Someone actually, like, got a demo of what one of these, like, AI little stories would be. Or these AI shows would be. And I think I want to... Oh, yes, there it is. Okay, so here's an example of... Hold on. What one of these shows looks like right now just using AI. Oh no, what happened? Oh no, I hate that this is so weird. Why did it go away? Oh, it didn't. Okay, that's what happened. Can you see it? No. Sorry, hold on. Oh no, what the heck happened? For some reason, it won't let me show you the whole page now. Like, why? I'm gonna have to find like a new computer or something to do these on because I don't understand. Okay, this is what I was trying to show you. Hold on. Let me just move this and make it bigger because I don't trust. So, this is an example of one of the episodes that this AI thing created.
Did I leave my brain here last night? What the fuck is this place? Did I leave my brain here last night? Your brain?
So this is supposed to be like
your own ass with the GPS
oh god,
in your brain.
I don't know what this is gonna be, but
clever, don't you?
This is something someone like prompted
into
the thing, and this is what it gave it. Like the animation, the voice acting, all of it was generated with AI. This is supposed to be two Sam Altmans talking to each other, I think.
But only if it destroyed humanity in the process. Hey, that AI was a
masterpiece. It says Tom Cruise. That's definitely not Tom Cruise.
Chicken shit to take risks. Risks? You call that a risk? That's not a risk. That's a fucking.
I mean, obviously, like the voice acting is not great and the animation is not great, but AI created all of this from scratch, from a prompt.
The old-fashioned way. Fine by me.
So you're about to get like your own like custom stories and stuff. But yeah, kind of crazy. Is this another... Wait, what is this? I think this is an ad for Showrunner. But anyway, I just wanted to like share that with y'all because I thought that was interesting. Would you guys watch something like that? I mean, I know the animation was rough, but it's going to get better. Travis says, oh lord, heck no. Okay. Serendipity says, ew, not studios trying to get you to pay them to not do anything. Gross. That's true. It seems like everyone's just disgusted. You wouldn't want your own customized TV show. You can even, at some point, you'll be able to, like, upload your, like, an image of yourself. And then, like, you can star in the movie. Would you want that? Anyone interested in that? Or is this all, like, sounding really dystopian? Because it's coming. I'm not even talking about, like, hypotheticals. I'm talking about, like, in 2 to 3 years, this is coming. I'm saying a hell nah, another hell no, an oh god. Rob says, when I thought Amazon could sink no lower. Oh, God. So you guys are not interested. You were interested until you saw it. Okay. And we thought Velma was bearable. Yeah, I think this will be worse than Velma for sure. Um, okay, Lily Hearts is a yes and a no. That's like the most positive response we've seen so far. So interesting. Um, I'm really curious to see if people actually like reject it like they say they are, or are people going to be really into this stuff and like it's going to become super popular. I'm not sure yet because a lot of people say, at least on the internet, that they would never watch this stuff. They think it's terrible. They think it's dystopian. But I do wonder once like they make shows and movies that are quality enough that they're indistinguishable from like real films, will people still care? Will people still be like, no, I don't want to watch this? I don't know. I think once it actually gets good enough, I think there will be people who will watch it. So I'm just curious to see how popular it will get. But yeah, it is definitely Black Mirror stuff. And like I said, there's a whole episode around it. What was it called? Something Jane? I don't remember the title, but if someone remembers, put it in the chat. But yeah, there is a whole Black Mirror episode about this, but that's about to become real. But anyway, let's move on to actually talking about entertainment news. So, like I said, we have to talk about Spider-Man. So, they released this, like, little, I don't know what to call it. I guess it's more of like a teaser, but it's really just Tom Holland. He's, getting himself psyched up, and he turns around, and then they show off the new super suit. I actually really like his new suit. I like his new suit a lot, actually. I think it looks more like the Tobey Maguire 2000 suit, and that's been my favorite Spider-Man suit since the beginning. I did not like the suit that he's been, like, sporting. I didn't like how over-designed it was. I didn't like all, like, the arrows on his shoulders and, like, the arms. I didn't like any of that. I like that this one's more simple. It's even, I would even argue, like, a bit of a throwback in the design. Like, it's definitely a different kind of design than, like, what Marvel would typically go with nowadays, which is why I think I like it. It's less bulky and less over designed, which is usually like how a lot of these costumes are looking these days. So I actually really like it. Here's a better image of the costume. As you can see, I think it's a very like it's giving Tobey Maguire Spider-Man suit. Like it's very similar. Do you guys like this new Spider-Man suit? What are your thoughts here? Are you still even excited for the new Superman movie? Period. What are your thoughts? Yes, he has been the Spidey longer than any other actor, and I don't think it's going to be close by the end. I think he's going to be Spider-Man until he's like 40. Um, poor Tom Holland, but he is making money, so. I know, I actually like that the suit wrinkles. I like that. I like that it looks like a real suit and not like some over-engineered like jacket suit like a lot of these superhero costumes have been turning into. Like this looks, I like this. It looks like more like a wetsuit or something. Yeah, it's giving Amazing Spider-Man 2 vibes. I think it's just giving Spider-Man 2 vibes, which I'm really happy with. If they can make this movie just like Spider-Man 2, I'd be happy. That's all I want. I do not want multiversal madness. I do not want a million villains. I just want like Peter Parker struggling in New York trying to make it as a superhero. Like that's like literally all I want. So we'll see, but I do like this new suit. And they just started filming, so it's definitely coming out tomorrow. Not tomorrow, next year. So, speaking of Marvel though, apparently there is no sense of urgency on developing Blade or a new Deadpool film. This does not surprise me. I mean, with how terrible the year has been going, and the fact that they seem to be all steam ahead towards Doomsday and Secret Wars, which they've already said they want to reboot the universe, I just don't see where they would even have the time to make these movies and release them. I just don't think that, like, it fits in the trajectory of, like, where they're going. Like, the only other Marvel movie they have coming out before Doomsday, is the new Spider-Man movie. And then after Doomsday, it's Secret Wars. So, like, where are they going to film and release a Blade and Deadpool film? Which sucks because I feel like it's so weird how we didn't get more movies from these characters who are, like, way more popular. But then we got, like, an Eternals movie. And we got, like TV shows based on nobody characters like Echo. Like, why did a character like Echo get more screen time and, like, character development and, like, just more to do than, like, Blade? You know, like, why was Blade not more of a priority before freaking Echo? These are the kinds of decisions that really puzzle me, because it's like, what are they doing over there? But I'm not surprised by this, because it just doesn't fit in their schedule, and I think that they're trying to reboot sooner rather than later. So I actually don't think we're ever going to get another Deadpool film. That's my hot take. I think after Secret Wars, they're just going to focus on the X-Men. And I know that, like, Deadpool is, like, X-Men adjacent. So maybe they pull some, like, weird, you know, time universe wibbly wobbly thing where, like, Deadpool ends up in the universe with all the other X-Men. I can see that. But I don't know. If we do ever see a Blade film, it's going to be long after the reboot, and it's not even going to be in this current universe that they're working on. Are you guys disappointed by this? Did you want to see more from them, or are you not surprised? Oh god, Will says, what is Echo? That just explains everything. Echo was a TV show on Disney Plus from Marvel about a deaf superhero who lives in New York. And nobody watched it. But they made a whole show. And apparently that was more important than making a Blade movie because of reasons. Coco says Marvel missed out on making a cool horror type movie with Blade. You know, Kevin Feige recently said that when it comes to Blade, they don't just want to, like, put a guy in a leather suit and have him kill vampires. And I'm just like, that's exactly what people want. I feel like he saw Sinners and now he thinks he has to, like, intellectualize vampires because Sinners did so well. But I promise you, like, Blade does not need to be Sinners. Blade can literally just be a black dude in a leather jacket going and killing vampires. Like, that's all it has to be. You do not need to make it, like, Sinners Part 2. Which is, I feel like, what they're trying to do now. If they even make this thing. And I'm just like, it really does not need to be that. Ronnie says, Echo is just forgettable and it's there. Yeah, it is. But anyway, it seems like a lot of you guys don't even care. Like, superhero movies are really down and out right now. Like, really down and out. Also, I think, like, Ryan Reynolds is, like, having a lot of PR problems. So I don't even know if, like, the next Deadpool movie would do as well. So, I don't know. This is just weird to me, because it's like, you could have done more with these characters, but you chose to focus on, like, characters no one cared about. And I find that to be really weird, and one of their biggest mistakes of the 2020s so far. What also could be a mistake is that the new Social Network 2 movie that's coming out will not have Jesse Eisenberg. Apparently he decided not to return, which is weird, because this is very much his biggest role. I don't know why he wouldn't want to return. But apparently they're considering Jeremy Strong to play the new Zuck, like older Zuck. I bet Mark Zuckerberg is somewhere, like, punching the air. I bet he's so happy about this. Because I just know Mark Zuckerberg's the kind of dude who watched the hell out of Succession. And I do love Succession too. Like, Jeremy Strong is obviously a really good actor. I do not think he gives Mark Zuckerberg at all. In fact, Mark, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but, like, Mark is in the middle of, like, not even the middle, like, he kind of already did it, like, a rebrand, where he's trying to be more cool and hip, and, like, he's even dressing differently. He has, like, more curly hair. He doesn't even have this, like, weird, like, nerdy haircut anymore. So he doesn't even look like this. Like, new Zuck does not look like this. Like, he completely rebranded. So I feel like they're trying to make him look like the old Zuck. And I wonder if this takes place, like, years ago. Because if they were covering today, I don't think that Jeremy Strong would be the right actor for this. But what are your thoughts about this? Are you even excited for The Social Network 2? Or do you not care about this at all? Ronnie says a sequel might do well. Yes, Mikey Madison also could be attached to this. That's the next thing I was going to go over. So here are a few details that we know about The Social Network 2. So Mikey Madison and Frances Hugan, their rumor is that they'll play the whistleblowers who disclosed Facebook's documents in 2021. And then there's Jeremy Allen White as Jeff Horowitz, who was the reporter who led the breaking of the Facebook files. So if you guys remember, there was like a few years ago a full scandal like that kind of got buried once Mark Zuckerberg like changed the name from Facebook to Meta. So I guess that rebrand was successful. But like part of why they did that was because they were in like deep hot water at the time, because like these files had come out that Facebook knew that like Instagram was basically hurting young women in particular and like leading to like high suicide rates and bad mental health and like all this stuff. Like they knew about that, and not only did they not do anything about it, but they still kept pushing it towards teens. And so this was a big scandal that I bet not a lot of you even heard about, because it really got like, it blew over pretty quickly once like Zuckerberg went full metaverse and everyone started talking about that instead. But like, I think it's interesting that they're focusing on this. Which I guess if this is the time frame, then I guess this is pre-rebrand Zuck. So maybe Jeremy will be fine, but I don't know. I still don't feel like he really matches the vibe of Mark Zuckerberg to me. But what are your thoughts? Do you think this sounds interesting? Do you think this is an interesting time period to focus on? Or do you like that these actors are being like considered to be in the movie? I do think that this would be a smart follow-up choice for Mikey Madison after Honora. I'm so glad that she said no to Star Wars, because I do think that would have been bad for her. But I think this would actually be really good for her. Okay, Ashley says this movie is not for you. Okay. Brandon says that story got memed to death. Did it? Does not seem a lot of you are interested in this. Interesting. I think it could be big, but it depends on how they go with it. I do think it's weird that they won't have the same director or the same Mark Zuckerberg. So who knows? But I do think it's interesting, at least, like what they're doing here. And this is for me. I added this story just for me. I don't know how many of you guys love The Holiday, but I love The Holiday. I love The Holiday. It's like my favorite Christmas movie. I watch it every year. And it's becoming like a cult classic in the sense that it's getting like a bigger and bigger cult audience every year as people like start finding it and watching it. And I'm really happy about that. But apparently, I guess Apple sees the popularity this film has, been having, and they're going to reboot The Holiday. But it's now going to be a TV series. And I don't know how I feel about that, because I like the format of this being a movie. I think this being a TV show could be too drawn out, and I'm not sure how this premise would work in a TV format. Like, I'd rather this just be a new movie. Honestly, I would rather, like, The Holiday 2 with the same actors but older and just seeing, like, where they are today. Like, I would rather that than a rebooted TV series. But I'll still watch it, just because I'm curious. Do you guys know this movie? Do you care about this at all, or should I just move on? Rob, you've never seen it. You should watch it. I don't know if dudes will really like it. It's kind of like a chick flick film for Christmas, but it is a good movie. Caldania says, The Holiday was a sleeper hit. Always find it on during the holidays. Yeah, I love it. Will says, you're okay with it being drawn out. I loved the movie. Okay, I hope that there's enough content there for a full series. I'm just a little worried about that. Seems like not all of you have heard of it. Go check out this movie. It's really good. If you like I said, it's kind of like a rom-com, but for Christmas. It's really good. I recommend it. But anyway, moving on. Um, so we also got a new trailer for The Conjuring. They're really like they're never gonna end this series, are they? Like they're like every time like they release a new Conjuring, I think it's the last one. Like I swear, did they not promote the last Conjuring movie as the last one? I swear they did, right? Am I misremembering that? But anyway, we have a new one. I actually liked the trailer. I watched it. It's a typical Conjuring movie. They get a call that this house is being haunted. But the twist this time is that it's a demon who they actually met before earlier on in their careers, and that they ran away, so like they never got to defeat it. And now this demon is back, and it's terrorizing this family. I think The Conjuring is a pretty good series overall. I do not like The Nun. I'm not talking about the spin-offs. I'm just talking about the Conjuring movies. I think The Nun was terrible. But I like the Conjuring movies. And I think they're actually genuinely scary. I don't even get scared by scary movies. That's why I don't really watch them, because I usually find them to be really cheesy and dumb. Not even scary. It's just like really dumb. But I think The Conjuring, these movies actually are pretty creepy. And the whole trailer is really creepy. So I'm looking forward to this. I will be there. I love the Warrens or whatever. I think this could be good. Are you guys still interested in the Conjuring series, or are you done with them? I saw that, Caldania. Matt Rife just bought their house in Annabelle? Who the heck would want Annabelle? Why would you want that? Like, that doll is cursed. Like, I genuinely believe that doll is cursed. Like, I would not want to be in the same room as that thing. Um, okay, Potato Girl, you don't like Ed and Lorraine. Cheetah Viper says you're worried my house will get haunted if I watch these. They're pretty creepy movies. I feel like they're genuinely scary. How have you never heard of these, Rodney? These movies have been out for a long time now. Like there've been a lot of them, and they've actually been very successful. Um, but anyway, I think this movie looks pretty good. Let's move on. So we also got a new trailer for Zootopia. I think this trailer is actually very effective. I like this trailer a lot. So the whole premise of this trailer is that it's basically, well, a large part of the trailer is one scene. And it's a scene where like Judy and Nick are in like almost like couples therapy, but it's more like partners therapy for like, cop partners, because they're partners together. And there's this like therapist lady who's like reading them like so hard. And it's actually genuinely a funny scene. And this trailer kind of reminds me of the first Zootopia trailer, where they focused on that scene in the DMV with Dash. And if you guys remember the trailer for the first Zootopia movie, that also featured like just one large scene for the most part, and that pretty much sold the film. I think they're trying to do the same thing again with Zootopia 2, because like I said, like at least half of this trailer is just this scene. But it's actually a really good scene, and I think it works. And then after that, we kind of get like a bit more about the story and like more from the movie. I think it looks good. I love the animation. I think the animation looks great. I think this could be one of Disney's good movies this year. What are your thoughts here? I love her little like bunny ears. She turned into like a hairstyle. I really like that. And I love the dress. I think the dress is cute. But what are your thoughts? Are you guys excited for Zootopia 2? Did you like the trailer? What are your thoughts? Oh my gosh, what the heck? How do oh, I guess I had to have this open. Hold on, guys, because someone's being weird in the chat. I think I need to ask for more moderators, because I need at least one moderator in like every chat. It doesn't look like Natania's here today. Who wants to be a moderator? Because I need them desperately. Oh my gosh. Review. I'm not talking because I'm trying to like ban someone from my chat. Actually, a couple people from my chat. What the heck? Just being so gross. I'm sorry any of you guys had to read any of that. Like, whoever that was just a loser. And they're not welcomed here. Anyway. Will French, you said you'll be a moderator? Alright. You're now a moderator. Who else wants to be a moderator? Naomi? Alright, you're a moderator. Alright, now I've got 2 more moderators. Please, if you ever guys see something like that in the chat, just like ban them immediately. You don't have to ask me. You have my permission. Brandon, okay, I'll make you a moderator, sure. Thank you. That's it. That's it. I added 3 new moderators today. Anyway. Okay, let's go back. I hate that you guys even had to see that. Anyway, let's talk about Demon Hunters. Let's talk about Demon Hunters. So, as I mentioned earlier, I do think that Demon Hunters is like a huge deal. It's like becoming a phenomenon. Netflix recently said it's like their Frozen, which if you guys know, Frozen is like massive for Disney. So I think this says a lot of things. I think this shows you the popularity of K-pop. I do also think, after having seen the movie, that I do think that like it's very much geared towards a younger audience in how it's made, like contrasting against Fantastic Four. This movie is a lot more like faster paced. It's got like more of like a punchier, more vivid color palette. It's got characters that are more like, for lack of a better word, like cunty. Like, I think this movie is like just generally more irreverent and more like in touch with like the culture today than what like a lot of Marvel movies have been. And I think that's part of why it's so successful. Also, it really understands the fan base. Like, it understands K-pop fans really well. And I think that's also why this movie is doing well. So apparently this is like Netflix's biggest animated film ever. They're already thinking about turning it into a trilogy, a possible live action movie, although I think they said that that's not happening, so I'm not sure, but they're definitely going to turn it into a trilogy. So like this is pretty big. I wish that this could have been like a Disney movie, you know? And I think that, is that another person? Who the fuck is that? If anyone who's a mod can like ban them, I welcome it. What the heck is going on? Ugh. This is so distracting. I think it's the same loser who just like went back on but with a different username. Like, who is this person? Where did they go? Did someone already ban them? I don't see their comment anymore. Okay, I think the mods did it. Thank you. Cause like, what the heck? Yeah, I think it was the same person, so I'm glad they're gone. Anyway, if this happens again, I might have to cut off the chat. I don't want to, but we'll see. Anyway, we're almost done for today, so I'm going to try to keep going. I keep getting distracted because there's some weird loser in my chat. But anyway, moving on. Where were we? Oh yeah, Demon Hunters. So, Demon Hunters is doing well. More of the story, I think Disney should do better. I see it on my page, but I do not see it in the actual chat. What the heck is going on? Why is it here but not in my actual chat? All right, whatever. I'm just going to take the chat down. Sorry. That's what I have to do. Anyway, moving on. So, the reason why I brought this up is because Sony Animation is responsible for, K-pop Demon Hunters, and they have another movie coming out called Goat by Stephen Curry, and this is not for me. I don't do sports, as I told you. However, I do think Sony Animation's been on a roll, and I think that because they've been putting out like pretty consistently like good movies, I trust that this is also another good movie. And I think it's interesting that Sony Animation is now like more, how should I say? I think they're like at the forefront of animation now more than Disney is because of Spider-Verse, because of Demon Hunters. I just think that they're like pushing the medium further and doing more with it than Disney is. So I kind of feel like Sony Animation is like the new king of animation at the moment. This movie is not for me, but I can see like a lot of, sports people wanting to watch it. Maybe like some little boys who love basketball or something. It's about a goat who wants to be a basketball player. It's very much for like kids, probably little boys, but I do think it could be good just because of their track record so far. And I like the animation style. So I just thought I'd bring this up. And then, speaking of animation, we have Steven Yeun, who's going to be the adult Prince Zuko in the Legend of Aang Airbender movie, which is exciting. I love Zuko. He's one of my favorite characters in the series. So I hope he does him well. If I'm being honest, I was very disappointed by his performance in, what was his last movie? That, horror movie with that, Jordan Peele made that he was in. I did not like his performance in that. I thought he was very flat in that movie, and Zuko was a very expressive person. So I hope that he can bring that expression, because I'm like really sick of this trend that Hollywood actors are doing today, where they're like, they think understated is the way to go, like fully, like they go so understated that they forget that they're supposed to like still emote. And to me, Steven Yeun is one of those people where he just like goes too subtle for me sometimes. So I do hope that he like is actually expressive in his voice, because Zuko is a very expressive character. But do you think this is good casting? Are you excited for this new Airbender movie? What are your thoughts? This is going to be, for the record, animated. So he's going to just be the voice. It's not live action. It seems like you guys are actually excited about this. Okay. I think Steven Yeun does have a lot of fans. So far, he has not made me one of them. But I did like him in Walking Dead. I will say I did like him in Walking Dead. I just have not liked him in much since. I just feel like he's like very flat a lot of the times for me at least. But like I still liked him in The Walking Dead, so I'm like, I'm gonna give him a chance. So we'll see. Anyway, moving on. We're almost done. So this was very fascinating. I wanted to bring it up just because I was like, this is an interesting idea, or at least an experiment. But there's a new horror movie coming out where the audiences were tested using never-before-seen technology to scan their pupils as they were watching the film. And they were trying to measure, like, excitement levels, like how much people were engaged in the story. And apparently, like, they captured 86% of the movie, people were like in shock or excitement. So this is giving, like, if you guys remember years ago, like 15 plus years ago, like those early commercials for Paranormal Activity, where they just like showed the crowd reacting to the movie, and like it drove a lot of hype because people were like, oh, is it really that scary? And like how Paranormal Activity like had that kind of viral marketing scheme. I feel like that's what they're doing here, where they're trying to focus more on the audience and how they're reacting to the film rather than the film itself. And I do think that could be an effective marketing strategy. I do think that could be effective because this looks cool. Let's look at this. They're showing that like during certain scenes, like people's pupils were getting big. Like, look at that. Like the bathroom scene. I don't know what the bathroom scene is, but look at her eyes. There's a cave scene and apparently a hallway scene. Like, I feel like this is really cool, effective marketing. Like this is the whole trailer. Like that's kind of cool. I don't know. What are your thoughts here? Does this excite you or interest you? What does this make you want to see this movie? Do you remember the Paranormal Activity trailers? What are your thoughts? They're trying to reverse engineer horror movies. I know. I think it's kind of cool. I have no idea how they tested this. I have no idea, but I do find it interesting. Um, but I don't know. I just think that this is clever marketing for a horror film. Also, Warner Brothers, they keep changing names. Like HBO Max became HBO again, or was it just Max? Yeah, Max became HBO Max again, and now like Warner Brothers is just becoming Warner Brothers again, not Warner Brothers Discovery. I don't know what's going on over there. They can't settle on a brand and a name, but this is happening. So Warner Brothers Discovery is splitting in half. So Warner Brothers will just be like streaming and the movie assets, and then Discovery will be cable stuff. So now Warner Brothers, we don't have to say Warner Brothers Discovery anymore. We can just say Warner Brothers. Although I low-key have always been saying Warner Brothers. Because Warner Brothers Discovery was a mouthful and annoying. And I knew it was temporary anyway. But anyway, so that's another name change just so you can be aware. And then we have Avatar. We have Avatar. This is the new trailer for the movie coming out in December. I think this looks really good. It looks very majestic. It looks very pretty. But I mean, all these movies look very majestic and pretty. They are very much focusing on the kids this time. Like, Jake and Neytiri are barely in this trailer, which I do not like. Because, as I've told you, I don't care if I'm in the minority or whatever. I like the first Avatar way more than the second. Because I did not care about those kids. I like Jake and Neytiri. I actually genuinely fell in love with those characters in the first movie, which is why I like the first movie so much. And I didn't like that they got sidelined in the second one. And now it looks like they're like minor characters in this third one. And I'm like, I do not care about the son. They really want the son to be the new, like, lead of this franchise. And I think he's so boring and uninteresting. And I'm like, everything else about this franchise is more interesting than this character. Why are they making it all about him? I do not get it. But, you know, this seems cool. I like this. This seems like a weird, like, living spaceship or something. I don't know. That's cool. We're seeing the fire Na'vi, so we see a bit of their home. I love all the epic shots. That's cool. We see that whale again. I like the whale. The whale was cool. Yeah, looks pretty, but again, it's all focusing on the kids. This is like the one scene we get with Jake and Neytiri, and I'm like, why are they arguing? Why? I don't like it. I don't care about Spider. I'm sorry. Way of Water did not make me care about any of the kids except for like maybe the one girl. So the fact that they're like passing the baton to the kids, I'm not happy about. But this character seems cool. I like this character. The design is really neat. She's the one that kind of got the most attention from social media, and I think that's because she has a really cool design. And this looks cool. It looks like there's another aerial battle, which I loved. The aerial battle in the first movie was so cool. I love Quaritch as well. I love that he's like the main villain of this series. I think he's cool. Literally, I think everything about these movies are cool except for the kids. I just do not care about them. And it's not because they're kids. It's just because I think that James Cameron made them all extremely bland and didn't give me a reason to care about any of them in the last movie. So maybe in this movie I'll actually like care about their kids. But for right now, I'm like, I like everything else about these movies but them. But anyway, again, this character seems cool. I'm excited about them. Are you guys interested in Avatar and seeing Avatar at all? Rob says, I really like Avatar too, but I never watched it again. They are too long. I don't mind long movies. And I actually kind of like that the Avatar movies are long because it feels like you're living on Pandora for like 3 hours. So like, I don't know. For me, it almost feels like a 3-hour vacation in a way. I don't mind how long they are. I just wish that they would focus more on like the characters that I actually find interesting. Mythic doesn't care about any of the characters. Okay. Caldonia says Cameron says he doesn't love making these. I don't think he said that. I think he said like the opposite recently. He loves making them. He wants to make 4 and 5. And I'm like, I wish he would do something else. I love Titanic. Titanic is still like my favorite movie ever. Why can't he make another Titanic? I wish he would do that instead of more Avatar, but that's what we're getting. Naomi says, I am excited about this one, but you think it will underperform a little. You know what? I think that's possible. Just because I do think that. Oh, D, thank you for the super chat. 1 second. I do think that this movie is not like as. I think the second movie benefited from a long gap because there was a lot of hype. Like, oh, he spent this long making this movie. Like, the technology must be crazy. Like, I think people had really high expectations around that. And this movie is coming out only 2 years after the last one, so I don't think there's that like anticipated build up like there was for the second one. So I am curious to see like will this movie do as well? Like will it cross 2 billion? I think that's kind of the bar for Avatar movies because the others have crossed 2 billion. So I think, crazy as it sounds, I think an underperformance for this movie would be anything less than 2 billion. This is the only franchise where that's a bar, but like James Cameron has just set that high of a bar for himself. I do think that's possible. It could do less than 2 billion. I think that's actually very possible, especially with how weak international box office has been. I can see that happening. DD, thank you so much for the super chat. I agree with you about the kids in Avatar. I don't want a teenage movie, honestly. I don't know why Spider is there. Me either. When he protected the man responsible for killing their son. Ding, ding, ding. I actually hate Spider because I do not like what they had him do in that movie. And, like, it felt weird that Jake and Terry just, like, naturally accepted him, considering what he did. I did not like Spider at all, actually. I don't like that he's, like, getting more and more, like, becoming a more important character, because I'm just like, you had something with the first movie. Why did you feel like you needed a whole new generation in the second? I just don't understand that choice. But anyway, that's actually it for today. That's all I had. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. I might have another stream this week. I might actually do it. So just make sure you follow me on Twitter because I'll announce it there and on my community page here on YouTube. Sorry about the weird comments in my chat. Congratulations to the 3 people I just made moderator. I need your help. So thank you guys. I'll see you guys soon. And that'll be it for today. Bye.